Hi, everyone, and welcome to this is the first of three webinars that the School for Humaning Well is presenting. It's the guest faculty series. First of all, I just want to acknowledge you for showing up today. I was thinking about this conversation and just this work so much. Like you're going to hear how I discovered Amy, why I asked Amy to be faculty, and I'm so thrilled that she said yes to being guest faculty because her work has really impacted me and my life pretty dramatically. But it's like it wasn't until it was time for me to sort of be open to this exploration. And so I just think it's really cool. There are 80, I think, two people who have signed up for this. And it's like, I'm just inspired that I feel like more and more people are awakening to this conversation and opening to this conversation. And so I just acknowledge you for being here and saying yes. And that's whether you're live with us today or watching the recording. Um, I'm Amber Krzys, by the way. Some of you I know very well. Some of you are completely new, so welcome to the space. So as I was saying, today's webinar is part of a bigger picture, a bigger series from the School for Humaning Well, and I'll just share a little thread of that and then how I got to Amy. And so the School for Humaning Well, it's a program that was really born out of my own experience. It's a 6 month immersion into awakening that launches in January. And I would say in the last 2 years, I've had a real deepening in the understanding, like in really understanding who we really are and where our experience comes from. And the more I sat with it, and I could just see and feel the safety, the peace, the freedom that I was chasing for so much of my life. It's actually here. But I didn't understand that before, and I've deepened in that. And so I just wanted to create a space for people to be able to come together and just nourish and immerse themselves in this discovery. And so that's the school. And so then Amy, I reached out to her when I was thinking about like the faculty who could really support this, who live this, who embody this. And I mean, it was a no-brainer. But this is, you might find this funny, Amy. Actually, let me go ahead and spotlight you now while I'm thinking about it. Let's see. And then I got to spotlight me too. All right, there we are. Perfect. I remember, I would say maybe like 5 years ago, I came across your work and I was like, I don't get it. Like what is she talking about over there? I have no idea. And then right within the last couple of years, there's really been like this is like I can't get enough of it. Like, I'm just like feeding on so much of it. And so your book, if you haven't read the little book of Big Change, I highly recommend it. It was revelatory for my like experience and understandings of habits and urges. She also has a fantastic podcast called Changeable. I did her resting and restlessness program. It was just like everything just was deepening and deepening and deepening. And so fortunately, Amy said yes. If you're new to Amy, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this conversation today. Yeah. So I'll just say really like she's a psychologist, she's a coach, she's an author. And I think how I would describe Amy is you're a really gifted pointer. Like you have a way of taking the invisible and making it easier to digest. And so that's part of the intention for this conversation today is sort of taking the invisible and pointing towards like an experience that's available to all of us. I'm going to check my notes if there's anything else I need to say here. No. So I'm just thrilled. Oh, I will say, so how the conversation will flow today is for like the first 30 to 40 minutes, Amy and I will just talk, right? Just like open conversation. And then I'll open for Q&A. And you can raise your hands for that when it's time. I'll let you know. And then we'll wrap up and send you on your way. And we have Amy for 75 minutes. I'm willing to stay for 90. Just if you had questions that didn't get answered that you'd like to explore and you can stay a little bit longer, I'll do that with you too. Um, so There we go. Welcome, Amy. I'll let you speak now.
Thank you so much, Amber. I love hearing that. And I love what you're saying about like making the invisible visible. I feel like such a good like characterization of what this is and just what's so important because we see what's here, but there's so much, we see what we see, but what else is there beyond what we see? What else is here that's not thought, that's not familiar, that's not conditioned, and there's a lot. So I think that's
Yeah,
just
there
such
is
a
a lot.
yeah.
So I thought this was present this morning, and I would really love to hear your, because it seems to me from the outside, just what I know of you, your journey into awakening, like your journey, because to me it's like this conversation about awakening. And what do I mean? How I would describe it as like waking up to who we are beyond conditioning, waking up to who we are beyond the habit of self. That's another way I sort of talk about it, which I know that you get. It just seems like like it gets richer and deeper and more expansive. And I kind of love that. And so, but I was also thinking about how I wasn't open to this conversation for until I was ready. And so I'm just curious about your journey, right? Like when this started to open for you, what your entry point was, and then how that's evolved over the years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think like you, I don't, there's always something sort of pulling. There's always some curiosity, and for me, and for a lot of people, probably it kind of takes the form more of like, how can I feel better? How can I be more productive? How can I achieve more in life? All of that. And um, so there was a lot of that on the surface, but also something deeper, like what's really even going on here from a really early age, And so kind of like you're saying, it's like it just sort of evolves and at different points in time, different things move to the forefront and other things kind of move to the background. But I would say in the last maybe 15 years or so, a lot of what I've explored and seen and then also share, as you know, a lot of it was like my own journey with like seeing through anxiety and habits, eating disorder, all of that, which was never really about making this issue go away, which is kind of where we go first often, like how, and it was for me too initially, right? Like how do I feel better? How do I find some freedom from this? But kind of baked into that the whole way through is like, but what is this and why is it happening and what's really going on here? And so in that, it's like just in these struggles that most people have, everybody has at some point, there's this kind of just deeper looking at what even is an urge, what even is a feeling, why is this so habitual? Whether it's anxiety or just the way we feel when we wake up in the morning, you feel okay at first, and then here comes all the stuff. Here comes your depression. Here comes your anxiety. Like, what's happening there? Like looking kind of behind the curtain at what's going on rather than at this abstract conceptual surface level. I have anxiety. I have this issue. Like really looking at what does that mean? What is anxiety? How, what even is this? And can I actually feel it? Like, what if it isn't the problem my mind is telling me it is? So through my own stuff that I dealt with and then now as I'm working with people, it's like we can see we get it, we know how to talk about it, we know that the surface layer kind of abstract conceptual description of things, but this constant looking at what is this really, what's it made of, what's here, um, and so that just naturally has deepened over time. And then, in terms of awakening and really just looking at identity, I think is the big thing, like who are we? um, I mean, it's interesting. I was just telling someone the other day that this question's been around for a long time for me, for quite a while, but it's taken a lot, it's a very different exploration, a very different way of looking now than it was, maybe 15 years ago. But I was sharing with someone how I really had a big insight about that, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, where it's like, well, obviously there is no stable me here because what I take myself to be, who I think I am, is changing all the time. And yes, there's some consistency, there's some sense of continuity to it, but it's definitely not stable. It's definitely it's highly impacted by what someone just said to me or condition, circumstances and all of that. So it's like I knew that there's no real me here. It's created on the fly. And yet it still feels like it's in some sense for a long time, it still feels like it's a real, like something real that's created on the fly. It still feels like what we are, so that just gets to keep deepening and deepening. And I just think that's the most fascinating, most fruitful, like what else are you going to do with your life, but really get to the bottom of that question, like who are you and what is even happening here?
Yeah. There's so much in what you shared. I just love that you had that natural curiosity and really a desire mm, to block, like, what is this experience? What is anxiety? What's it made of? Who am I really? I think only recently have I sort of landed on that, because for a long time, um, well, I'm going to say one thing that's present before I say this next thing, which is, if in this conversation your mind is like, what is happening? What are they talking about? That's okay. You can just like let that be there, right? Just let it be there. And this is like listening beyond mind, listening through your heart, your fullness. Um, Now let's see if I can remember what I was going to say. Um, Oh, I was thinking, or I was, what you shared made me think of, it seems like there's a period of time where it feels so important to create identity, right? Like,
Mhm.
I am Amber and I am a wife and I am a coach and I am good at what I do. And I think for a long time, when I started this journey, I was making that bad and wrong. Like, I should not have an identity, right? Because who I really am is, right, this vast awareness that's beyond that. And where I'm at right now is like, no, no, we're playing in both. Like, we get to have this expression of this unique personality while
Mhm.
at the same time knowing that's not who, like, the fullness of who we are.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing to negate or dismiss. Like, and that's what's so great about this kind of exploration is like everything's fair game and there's no real agenda to it. We don't need to make anything go away. We don't need to bring anything really to the forefront. Like, I mean, I think that for me, like the driving thing is like, let's just see what's here. Like what's really here? What even is this? So yes, the personality stuff and the who we think we are, like that's just something to really look at. And like you said, and through this lens of like, what if that's not really what I am? Because what does that even mean to be a wife? Like, what does that even mean? That's an idea. Where is it? Like, where are you a wife? I don't see a wife. I just see a face. So where are you even a wife? And yet this is the kind of stuff that we don't really look at very often. We just kind of stay in the conceptual level and we walk through life being like, yeah, I'm a wife and it means something. It means all these things and then life kind of gets smaller and identity gets a little tighter and more compact and eventually we bump into a lot of stuff that way. So it's like if we can just really spread it all out in a sense and look at these things like this is how this character shows up, but is that really what I am? And let me just explore it all. It just opens everything, rather than limiting and shutting it down.
Yes. Were you were you aware that you had anxiety when you were like working with it within yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was aware I had anxiety from the time I was little, and it was came back and I had a lot of anxiety as a child, a lot of separation anxiety, a lot of like nervous twitches, things like that. So I was familiar with that, and then in my early mid 20s when I was in graduate school, I was having panic attacks. So it was a thing that I was very aware of. Um, and then it wasn't and then it kind of changed forms and it's not a thing recently at all. But yeah, I was aware of it, and there was a way of like really, and I would say back then too, it was definitely started more of like, how can I just get this to go away? But there was always that kind of underlying, yeah, but what's really going on here? What even is it?
Well, I think that impulse is because that's still playing out for me. Like I could tell you about yesterday when I saw like, oh, I'm trying to make that go away. I'm making that bad. I'm like not even aware that I'm doing that. That desire to change the experience.
Mhm.
Like, where do you think that comes from?
Um, I mean, I think it comes from all over. I think we're so conditioned with it, so conditioned with that. The whole world is out here trying to just change experience, and some more than others. I mean, that's something to kind of feel into for ourselves, like, and we can all expand in that direction. I think of like, do I have to? Can I just be with what is? Can I just be in with as what is? Can this just be here? It's a great kind of early question, like an entry point into this. Can I be with what is, no matter what it is? And if the answer is no, which it very well may be, we just want to look at what's going on there. What are the beliefs? What are the fears? Because there's a lot of reasons we think we can't just be in what is. And that's really good stuff again to take a look at. And when we do feel like we can be in what is, well, great. Then whatever's here is just what's here. And that's where we get to just kind of feel into it and check it out rather than meet it from this high, this is wrong kind of level and try to change it.
Well, and I'm just thinking for myself, right? Even this conversation around meeting the experience or meeting what's here. I think for me in the beginning, what I was seeing was just a bunch of thought that was
Mm,
here, right? I couldn't even drop into sensations in my body or feelings that were here. It was just so this is what's here. I don't, and then it was for me, it was very fast paced. Like that was, I tend to have like over functioning. I'm the person that didn't know I had anxiety because it's like anxiety was bad. Don't have
mhm,
that. So I just like over functioned beyond that. Right. And then it was a big wake up and was like, no, that's actually anxiety. Oh my God, it is. I'm just thinking about that, the discomfort of, it's hard to put into words, but it's like starting to break apart reality versus
mhm.
imagination,
Yeah.
right? That's what I'm pointing toward. And maybe it would be helpful to sort of talk about those two things for a minute, and then we can come back into
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think you just said it really well. It's like when you were looking at what is and feeling into like what, so we can just all kind of feel into this right now. When we say what is, it's not what is not today is Thursday. It's this time. I'm here on a Zoom call. I mean, that's a sense, that's a little bit of what is, but just noticing that that's thought, it's conceptual. It's conceptual, meaning what is Thursday? I have to have, I had to have learned what Thursday means, and it's an idea. It doesn't live in the world. There's no Thursday in direct experience ever. Thursday is a thought, always. So, and that's where we tend to be, is in that abstract, I'm me, I'm on this Zoom call, it's Thursday, like this is what is. Okay, but let's look a little deeper. What's here beyond that level? Okay, well, there's a bunch of color and shape. There's seeing, let's say. There's sound. There's some vibration. There's sounds outside, maybe. There's sound coming through your computer or your phone. There's sensation, there's energy, there's feeling in the body, maybe there's some emotion. There are probably some other thoughts, probably quite a few other thoughts coming up and then dissolving and then, coming back up, dissolving. So it's like kind of dipping. It's kind of like if you're, walking on the beach and your feet are kind of getting into the wet sand and going deeper and deeper. It's kind of like doing that with what is, what's here in direct experience. And I would say, to use that distinction, what's here in direct experience, we can call reality. I'm starting to, I don't want that word to get confusing, but it's like it's direct, it's sensory, it's reality in the sense that it is immediate and it is obvious. What hearing, seeing, feeling, it takes no interpretation will happen on top of it, but there's a very basic energetic kind of sensory thing going on here. There's a lot of aliveness here right now, a lot of aliveness. There's awareness. There's a light there, and it's not the sun or your lamp. Like there's illumination of all of this, right? Like that is kind of that and more are at these kind of more subtle levels that we might call reality. Like this is what's here. And then on top of reality, there is what I might call imagination, but it's thought giving, interpreting and telling stories about and kind of referring back to other things that happened or referring to the future or referring to you. So that level of things, which is in thought, we could say is a little imaginary. Now, so Thursday, to continue with that example, is a little imaginary. It doesn't mean it's not helpful. It's very practical. There's nothing wrong with it. So when we talk about imagination, it's not like it's wrong or bad or we want to do away with it. We just really want to start to feel that difference. It's conceptual versus kind of real and alive. And the reason this is important is that all of our suffering, there's a lot of reasons it's important maybe, but suffering happens in imagination. Suffering happens by believing a thought. We believe a thought, there's resistance, there's story about it, there's trying to resolve it and change it. It's all about me. It spirals in all these different directions. I mean, that's what I think we can call suffering. Now, that can be happening or it cannot be happening, and reality is still here. Aliveness, sensory, sensation, emotion, like that's real, and there's no suffering in that.
Have you um this idea that suffering happens in imagination? Um, I think it's I think it's big, right? Because it's like when we're wrapped up in the story of me, right? Suffering, it's like I don't want to be suffering. I'm suffering because of you and or whatever, right? Because of what's happening in the world. And I feel like the times that we're living in, there's just a lot more of a lot more how this is how I would say it. There's a lot more reason to be upset. There's a lot more reason to, right, like something out there. I'm suffering because of something out there. And so, will you just share a little bit more? It's because it's like in reality, it's not that pain, like pain doesn't happen, pain can happen, but it's the lingering, the holding on to, the like this should be different. Like that's where it starts to layer in the suffering.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah, so it's like just a different level of sensing into what's here, like sensing into things in a different way. So yeah, in that example, like out there, which already is very conceptual, out in the world, I don't see it. I'm not directly experiencing it, but I'm hearing about it. I'm thinking about it. People are telling me like things are happening out there. You can just feel the difference in that. You can sense, we all know, like they're true or not, fake news or not, valid or not, like there's a lot of subjectivity in that. There's going to be a lot of bias in it. We're hearing about it, we're thinking about it. It's not the thing. It's not the thing. Thought is always representational. And that goes for something you hear in the news or something someone tells you or something you think. It's a representation. It's never the thing. It's never the truth, ever. And as a representation, it's full of bias and it changes all the time. It contradicts itself all the time. So we just want to keep getting better at noticing that. And I know people hear this a lot or can hear it a lot, especially when we're talking about things happening out there as kind of a denial or like a burying your head in the sand. It's none of that. If anything, I would say living in imagination is burying your head in the sand. We're literally living in made up biased stories that are changing all the time, and we're pretending they're real. We're acting like they're something solid, and they're not. So it doesn't mean we don't stay informed and go out and be people in the world, of course. It's just noticing the different levels of kind of where attention is. So attention can be in like you said, this is wrong. this thing is happening on the other side of the world, maybe it shouldn't be happening. I don't like it. It makes me afraid. All very representational, all very high level, a lot of suffering in that, all thought, all imagination. And then there's like, yeah, but what's here right now? What is obvious and direct and real? And even when there's a toothache or, something like that, that's pain. But it takes imagination saying this or thought saying this should not be happening, and then all the resistance around that to turn it into suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there was a question that popped in and I think it went away. Mm-mm. When I experience you as like really deep in I would say non-duality. I don't, are you okay if I use that
Mhm.
term? Okay, great. Um, for someone who's really new on this path, who's listening to this conversation, you're like, none of that is truth. Ooh, I'm like, I know her. I'm like, your answer is going to be this, but it's like, how do you know that? Where do you go for truth? How do you discover truth?
Mm. Yeah. So if thought isn't true and representation isn't story aren't true, then what is true? Is
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or where do we look for truth? Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a great question. I mean, not there. Not there. We know that. That takes a lot off the table. Not in story, not in representation. So what else is there? And I mean, that's just a great pointer in itself. What's here that's not a concept or a thought or an idea? And that's again where I would point to, like, just point people in the direction. I wouldn't say this is the answer, but this is how we find the answer. This is how, exploring it. Like, what's here that's not thought? Well, a whole lot. There's a basic sense of beingness. There's a sense of aliveness. You exist. There's a sense of existence. And you check these for yourself because I'm just saying some stuff. But we it's always about looking for ourselves, always about taking these pointers and just looking for yourself. Again, there's like I can feel there's some energy here. There's form. There appear to be objects. Now, without thought and imagination, there's not a big backstory and meaning to all these objects. There's not a personalness to this object we might call a body compared to something else. But there's stuff here. There's sensation. There's color. There's sound. And that there's something that happens as we kind of dip into that and look there for kind of truth, as we're saying, or just it's just what is obvious and here and immediate. It can feel pretty dissatisfying initially because the mind is like, well, then what? Like, I know all that. I know all that. I'm familiar with that. Or what does that mean? Or what does that do for me? And it's great if that's happening. It's just an opportunity to see, oh yeah, that's what thought does. Thought wants to come in and just make it abstract and tell a story about it. This is not exciting. There's nothing in this, whatever. Let's go, complain about what's happening in the world, or let's go fix this problem instead. And that's just the mechanism of thought. It's just how thought functions. But there is something in this aliveness. It's like being in silence for a long time. I mean, there's nothing there, but no, there's definitely not nothing there. The mind will say there's nothing there. You're just sitting in silence for a week. No, there's a lot there, way more there than there ever is in repetitive stories and thought. And it's hard, really hard to describe, but it's like we kind of, again, like sinking your feet into the beach, into the wet sand. It's like we sink into this immediate, present, direct experience, and there is this aliveness there. And in that, we can maybe start to ask some questions like, what is this? Who am I? Some of those types of things from that place.
I just had a thought of, oh my gosh, am I recording this? Yes. Um, that would have been really bad. So um, and I'm going to ask about anxiety because you have specific experience with that. But anyone who's listening, it's like if anxiety isn't your experience or flavor. It could be overwhelm, it could be worry, it could be depression, it could be negative. Like, right? It's like as we awaken and we sort of this isn't it, but this is how it occurs to me in my mind. It's like, what's the beast, right? That has been with me, and it's not right? Like anxiety. It felt like a beast for a long time, but it doesn't feel that way anymore. It's just feedback about my state, which so my question for you is, it ties into the suffering. I'll ask part one and then part two. So part one is, how has, like, do you still experience anxiety? How has that shifted for you as you've, right, deepened your feet in the sand?
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say I experience anything that I would call anxiety. That's not really an experience that I've had in quite a while. But we kind of have to look at like, what does that really even mean? I experience sensation. I experience emotion. I experience a lot of physical energy at times. I experience thought that sometimes has an anxious kind of story wanting to show up. So it's like all the pieces of anxiety and a set of anxiety, whatever that is, in a sense, are there, but it doesn't feel like anxiety used to feel at all. And I think the main difference there is that, again, I can have just from practice and looking a ton and exploring this, I can feel into the nuances of those different flavors. Like I could see a thought coming as if it's a car coming down the street. Not always, but more and more and more. Okay, I feel that there rather than it just plopping down on my face and being the only thing I could possibly see. I can feel sensation and feel into sensation more, feel into emotion rather than saying no. Oh no, because that's how it was for me with anxiety. No, 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 no. This can't be here. That's what anxiety is a no. We can just say it this way, right? Like the feeling of anxiety, and that's even like a common definition. It's the fear of fear, right? It's a anxiety is a giant no. More and more through practice and exploration, anything that arises gets a giant yes. And that there's no anxiety in yes.
Well, I mean, I love this because, like, I would say this is what I'm experiencing too. It's almost like I entered this awakening trying to suffer less, right?
Mm,
Like looking for the solution to suffering. And the more I'm on this path, it's like, well, suffering can be part of the experience, and I don't have to push it away.
yeah,
It's in the pushing away that it's like that amplifies the suffering rather than just like letting that be here because it's going to go away
yeah.
again soon.
Yeah, I think that's like the whole crux of it. I mean, nothing is inherently anything, and even when something is experienced as suffering, so what? We don't have to suffer over suffering. And we don't have to push anything away. That's where it's like everything that comes can be welcomed in a sense, and that takes, it's easy to say that, but when we still have a lot of conditioned fear around what's arising and like this shouldn't be happening or why is it happening to me, this is where identity is really identity is all this is all about identity because the only reason we don't want something showing up is because it's about me, and when it's about me it gets wrapped around every feeling and snowballs off into all these directions and becomes a big problem, so of course we don't want that. When it's not mine, it's not personal, it's not about me, it's not wrong, it's not dangerous. Naturally, it's like, okay, bring it closer and let me feel it and check it out because it just is what is. So, I mean, that's the core, I think, of all of it. And you can feel as you hear that, you can feel the freedom in that. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. We don't have to manipulate or even wish for different things to show up than what's here when we're open to like, hey, okay, let it hit me and I'll feel it and it'll move on.
Um, do you think that, right, like even that exploration, I mean, I was going to say, do you think that inquiry, like self-inquiry, self-reflection, that is really the path?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know. It feels, I didn't say this earlier. I think of like the mind, the heart, the body, nervous system. I think of them as like portals into experience that lead us to truth,
Mhm.
right? That's sort of how I think of them. And to me, like you represent mind, not just personal mind, but like big mind, awareness mind. And so I that idea of thought, feeling, nervous system, body sensation, building the safety within yourself to meet the experience, right?
Mhm.
Because at first it does feel like a threat to identity. And so if we're really wrapped up in, I'm a good person or I'm a good mother, and now there's this thing that's pressing upon that, the natural response is like push it away,
Yeah.
right? And so that process of like, oh, let me let this in.
Mhm.
Any thoughts? Like, how was that for you, or how do
Yeah.
you help people soften?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. I mean, there's like, I think it's both the early stages of it maybe, or like the prep for it is kind of what you just said, like really being open to what we believe. Like, why is there resistance? What are we believing about all of this? It means something about me, it's mine. I mean, you hear this stuff all the time with anxiety and depression. If I feel it, it will take over, it will never leave, I'll drown in it. I mean, really looking and hopefully with someone who has some skill and experience to help you see that is not the truth. There is no such thing as dying in feeling or being stuck in feeling. There is no feeling that is wrong or dangerous. There really is not. I know people feel stuff and get really tangled in imaginary thought and then do harmful things. Yes, but the feeling is not the problem there. It's believing imagination that leads to harmful things. And the only way to stop believing imagination and to feel more into what is to look toward it with a little bit of courage at times, and really look toward it with curiosity and just be like, what is this? Are all my beliefs about it really true? Or could it be that life is not getting it wrong? Could it be that what I'm feeling is just perfect because it is the only thing that's here? So let me say, I think this is really important, or just really kind of cool. Like to argue with what is, like what it right this instant is, this is the only time there is right now. This is it. There's nothing else. Any other time is imagination already. We can think about before, we can think about after. That's only happening in imagination. So there's only this here right now. There's only what's being seen, felt, heard, smelled, tasted right this instant. This is it. And this instant, and now this is it. And now this is it. That's it. Now, so what's happening when thought comes in and says, this shouldn't be happening. I thought I was over anxiety. I haven't had a panic attack in 3 years. Why is this happening? That is imagination, because that is the mind creating a lot of things, creating 3 years ago to your last panic attack, creating expectation for what should be here right now, which should is complete imagination. There's no should here in direct experience. Sensation doesn't know should. Hearing doesn't know should. Like should is an idea.
Mm.
And it's a really harmful one because we believe it. It's a harmful one when we believe it because now there's this imaginary kind of existent. There's this imaginary experience that's like, oh, here's me free of panic attacks. I haven't had one in 3 years, but we don't recognize that that is all made of thought. And so when reality doesn't match that, which it usually won't, because reality doesn't care about your imagination, then then there's like, oh, there's a problem here. So I forget the question that kind of led into this, but I love that little distinction where it's like, okay, how do we prep for this and get more comfortable in it? It's like we see what thought is doing. We see how imagination is creating the only problems that exist are only happening there. Even if it's just as simple as this shouldn't be happening, that is not true. That is not true. It should be happening because it is, period. There's no exception to that. And so that seeing that more and more is like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to live the rest of my years like arguing with reality? That's going to be full of suffering. Or do I want to just look at what's actually here and see if maybe it's actually not so bad? And then there is that just kind of feeling in and coming into the senses and into sound and into seeing and into feeling more and more. And then experientially kind of knowing from there, wow, this isn't so bad. My mind spent my whole life saying, don't feel this, don't think that, don't, but when in the actual doing of it, it's like, this is not dangerous. This is a safe, in reality, is the safest place to be.
Mhm. Yeah. It for me sometimes, I mean, it has felt like death, right? Like it has felt super intense. Just recently, part of I talked about like the over functioning pattern, that coping strategy, and tied into that was like achieving, tied into that was improvement, right? Like I am the achiever. I know how to make things happen, like being faced with actually no, right? Like that's I'm not the doer. That was really intense in my experience, but it feels like, at least for me, it doesn't always feel that way, but in this particular instance, it's almost like walking through the fire to enter like the promised land, because through that, on the other side of that is what you were saying, which is that awesome, like awe, so not like, like
Yeah.
awe, like in awe of the experience of just the beauty that is existence. There was one other thing I want to say, and then I'll open up for questions. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask or you want to reflect on, right, for a reflection to share, you can just raise your hand, and I'll call on you in just a moment. But I was so taken. I didn't hear about this book except for through you. The not the Bob Saylor Adam ones, the No Self, No Problem
Mhm.
book, and he talks about the split brain studies. I just think this is helpful for everyone to know. I'm like, how is this not common, especially for psychology or coaching or right in that world? So they had done these tests to split the brain. They thought that if they could split the brain, it would help people that were having seizures. And so it was the first time that they could actually test the left hemisphere separate from the right hemisphere of the brain. And so the right hemisphere of the brain controls the left half of the body, the left hemisphere of the brain controls the right half of the body. And so individually, separately, they showed these cards, like a series of cards, and then asked each brain separately, what's the most prominent image? And so the right brain points with the left hand to a shovel, the left brain points with the right hand to a chicken. Then they asked the left brain, why is your right hand pointing to, oh, I reversed it. Why is your left brain, or why is your right hand pointing to a shovel? And it just made up a story. Like it just made up, oh, because chickens have a lot of poop and you need a shovel to scoop it up, right? This is what our left brain is doing all the time. And we're just so conditioned to putting our attention there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's so
mean,
great to see that. Like, and I mean, that's exactly like that's in so many areas and in so much research. It's like when someone's asked a question, it's like an answer gets spit out, but we don't, why do we believe that? We're not thinking that answer up. And yes, I mean, we can really see in that research, it's literally just a function of the left brain. It's just a storyteller. It narrates everything. It tells stories that are not true, that make sense, and they might have some practical value in the world, some degree of practicality. But man, they also have a really big dark side when we believe them, when we take them so seriously. And also, and as you know from that book, I mean, part of what the left brain is really doing is constructing you. It's constructing who you are and how things go for people like you. And before you know it, like it's like we're all a puppet to this left brain saying, here's who I am. And I can't do that. I wouldn't do that well. And I'd probably fail if I tried that. And it's all lies. It's all lies, but they're very familiar lies and they feel kind of safe after a while. They feel painful, but also safe.
yeah.
And so we believe them. And so they're believed. And then life keeps getting smaller, 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 and things are resisted. And, it goes back to anxiety. It's like everything is feared and life doesn't look safe and things are resisted and the world gets smaller, all to protect this idea of a you that is a complete brain fabrication, like
Yeah.
completely made up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was wild to me. Just that's the left brain's function, right? It's
Hmm.
like I don't get upset when my right hand is like picking up my phone or picking up my coffee. Like that's what it's supposed to do. It's doing what it does. But man, I get upset when my left brain's doing what it does because I'm believing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So, does anyone have a question that you'd like to ask or a reflection that you'd like to share? It could be anything around something that you're experiencing in present time. It could be a question about just like your where you are in your awakening journey. Cynthia, come on down.
Um, Thank you both. This is so aligned with where my healing trajectory for myself and my clients has been going. And what I'm dealing with is upending a lifetime paradigm of being raised, having been raised in a Christian Science family where the whole messaging from the time I was a small child was there's no life, truth, intelligence, or substance in matter. So in that paradigm, the whole experience that I've aspired to as to what healing should be is based on there's no sensation associated with it. So recently I had the universe delivered a Sunday school classmate of mine from when I was 10. And so it was sort of like the telepathy tapes in a way, the way I remember her more than anyone else. And when we were talking now in our 70s to each other, what came forward from her experience, different from mine, was that she had two amazing life experiences of physical healing that were really almost the biggest challenges anyone could have. One was when she was a child, she was severely burned and her family wrapped her in a rug. And 5 days later, she emerged from it with no evidence of the accident. And then in her early 30s, um, she had been diagnosed with a cancer that had already killed her sister and her mother. And she went into a retreat situation and completely healed that. I mean, when she came out, the cancer doctors couldn't find any evidence of it. So after that conversation, because I've been in this process, I, one, forgave myself for feeling like I had failed because I had never had that experience of healing myself physically. And also recognizing, our spiritual curriculum was different, even though both of us together from that childhood experience had an absolutely amazing connection to spirit. I mean, that was so present, it was so tangible. Um, what I'm finding in listening to this conversation that's so important is that the imagination and making stuff mean something has been my lifetime opportunity. And so I'm in the present restoring the ability to human myself by recognizing that we have been delivered the five sensory experience of being human to manage. And so I find myself landing in hearing both of you. What is a practice that either you, Amy, or you, Amber, do to lessen what the imagination is doing that makes anxiety or illness or anything mean something, which of course exacerbates and puts us in the challenge of having to reduce the what we're making it mean. Does this make sense?
Yeah. 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 So it's a great question. And I love that you're looking there, I mean, in those stories of like just spontaneous healing and stuff. I mean, there's no way that the mind is doing that. It's just that those are like just this perfect kind of drop down into like, wow, we know nothing. Like, what is really going on here? We know nothing. Imagination, thought certainly don't know anything about that. Although they may claim to, but like a practice, a way of kind of working with this, I think for me, it has been really like that initial question that we kind of posed here, like what's here that's not thought? And primarily it's like you said, the senses. There's a
Yes.
felt sense, there's hearing, there's seeing. So letting attention kind of move into those and hang out in those as much as possible and without thinking about them. And now thought will come up. There's going to be interpretation and thought being like, oh, you like this feeling, I don't like that feeling, whatever. But it's really like it's nonverbal, it's non-cognitive. It's like I do this with, used to do this with sound all the time. I look, can I just swim in the sound and not me swimming in the sound, but just opening to sound and just letting attention be in all the sound, letting attention be in sensation. And from there, you'll notice probably more clearly than usual what thought is doing.
Yeah.
Thought is like, is this doing anything? Am I doing it right? This is boring. This is pleasant. This is unpleasant. It's doing that all the time. It's like, well, what are you getting from this? Who are you going to tell about? God, you should go tell your friend how good you did at this. Like it's constantly doing that stuff. But with the more attention here in the senses and what we're kind of calling reality here, thought, when it's doing that, you just tend to see it a little bit more. So you want to see it as thought, so that as imagination. And that for me is what kind of has helped like pull these apart a little bit. Like I can really feel into what's here and present and notice thought as thought doing what it's doing. And it's not a problem. And that's to kind of say like what lessons imagination or lessons the impact. I think it's just that. It's seeing, okay, this is the mechanism of thought saying the same boring stuff it always says. Why would I go there?
I love that. And it's it's kind of restoring um I know I don't need permission, but that implant that I received of there's no sensation in matter is now something that I'm recognizing is a key to everything.
Mm.
And not only when I'm working with myself, but when I'm working with clients, it's like, what is the sensation that you're sort of addicted to that is perpetuating your inability to say no or your people pleasing? There's an actual sensation associated with that physical that physicalizes and perpetuates that pattern. And how can we navigate to another part of the brain that isn't being triggered to do that pattern in life?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would just add one thing just for you, Cynthia, as you continue this journey. My experience has been it's almost like the more I slow down and start to see thought as thought, for me personally, sometimes I felt worse because it's like I'm more aware, like I'm not just doing the pattern anymore. I'm consciously aware of the pattern, which is progress, but sometimes it doesn't feel so good. And it's just remembering that that's progress, because seeing it, if you don't see it, you can't, you're like you're in it, right? Versus like when you see it, right, what AB was saying earlier, right? You can just like let that car go by, right? And not grab onto it.
No.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you both.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. All right, Catherine. Let me just
Yeah.
spotlight. Come on
Hi.
down. Hi.
Hi. I came a bit late into the video now, but well, I mean, I don't know where to start, but I've been listening a lot to Amy Johnson on her YouTube. And really has helped me is that I've had a lot of anxiety whole of my life and been to a lot of different treatments, but yeah, I mean, seeing this, that thinking is just thinking, that it kind of passes by. And when you feel kind of tension in your body, I mean, I'm not afraid of it anymore. It kind of passes by. I mean, yeah, it's amazing, I think. I mean, um, and I'm not that afraid of it anymore, kind of. Yeah, that was just a small comment. So
I,
thank you very much.
yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And it's really like we just see you didn't have to learn to not be afraid of it.
No,
Feel
no,
into it and you see firsthand there's nothing here to be afraid of. So
no.
it's like fear only lives in thought.
Yeah, and
Here anywhere else. It's only in the stories about things. So
yeah,
kind of to Cynthia's question too, it's like as we're actually feeling into real life and what's here, that takes care of the fear and
yeah,
puts everything kind of in its proper perspective.
yeah. And then a lot of old stories I believed in the old days. I mean, it's only been stories who I was or how I was as a person. It's kind of gone away. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, well, it's like you're living proof, right,
Yeah,
of what happens when we open and live more
yeah.
into this. It's
But
beautiful.
but it can still come. I mean, it's learning for me still with when I can have these kind of symptoms and of anxiety, and then I can kind of go in that again. Oh no, what now? And but
Mhm.
then I'm more observed about it, kind of that. No, well, it's only thinking, but it can be still a bit difficult. But I
Mhm.
think I'm on the right path, kind of. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
sharing.
thank
Thank
you.
Yeah. Caitlin, come on down.
Yeah, so my thought is telling me this is a stupid question. But
Great that you're asking it though, right?
yeah,
It's like that's just thought. Bye-bye.
right. Well, you both mentioned like eating disorders, and that's been kind of my thing for a lifetime. And I'm curious, like how you use like these awarenesses of like identity and thought, like to work with those patterns of like obsessing about size, body, food, like. And is there any relationship with this and like neural pathways being super paved, or is that like not right? It's like, well, I've done this for decades, so how do I just shift it? So kind of like, yeah, I don't know if you want to run with that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, it's like, I mean, when you talk about, and yeah, I know the conditioned thinking and the obsession and what it feels like is important and what it feels like we care about and what we need to do to make things go that way, how we're going to manage weight, food, image, all of that stuff. It's like just seeing more and more, seeing that as a mechanism of thought. And this was huge for me too, because I think everyone does. When I was in my eating disorder, it was like everything that was happening had this overlay of me. It felt so personal. What's wrong with me? I need to be better. I need to do this better. I need to manage this better. How am I going to get out of this? And that's hard. Like that's the top layer of like thinking on top of what's already happening, and it feels like so difficult to permeate that because it's so personal feeling. It feels like you and it just makes it feel horrible. And so a big piece of that is seeing like that whole thing. One thing that was really helpful for me is seeing like none of this that I was bulimic, but none of this that's happening is mine. I'm not doing it. I'm not choosing it. I'm not thinking it because I did not have, and you can check this in your own direct experience. Like I did not have the experience of sitting down and deciding to have that thought. It doesn't work that way. But look for yourself and see if you see that. What I started to see about that more was, no, this stuff is just arising. I'm not making it happen. And especially like in your case, like when there are issues like anxiety or eating disorders or whatever, I mean, and I know this and Amber knows this from working with people, the thoughts are the same. It's not even unique. The content is not even unique. The thoughts you have are very similar to the thoughts I had. So it's funny when you look at it in a way and you think, gosh, this stuff feels so personal and so unique to me, so much so that I have to act on it and do something about it and fix it. But then if we like back up a little bit and again, people who work with people have this gift of being able, like we have this blessing of getting to see this over and over with people where it becomes so obvious. Oh, this is just what thought says
Mm.
across the board. Like it's just not personal. That I think is a really good maybe first step for where you are, is to just watch those obsessive thoughts and the urges and all of that from this place of just seeing it come and go and knowing that you are not, there is no you in the center of that, making it happen or needing to manage it because you can't man, there's no managing that either. There's nothing to do with it. It's self-correcting. It just doesn't appear that way.
No, that's helpful. Mine's slightly blown, but yes.
Good.
Not
Good.
manage it. That's all I do is control, you know.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Yeah, that's different. Okay.
That's
Thank
huge.
you.
That's huge to see because yes, I mean, that's right in the middle of it, of like a me that has to now manage this, and it's kind of what we were saying earlier. This shouldn't be happening. And of course it looks that way. It shouldn't be happening. It's a problem. We know what it leads to. But kind of sense and in the way we're talking about the imaginary nature of that too. Like who's saying it shouldn't be happening? What's here is what's here, period. And when we're just kind of in what's here, it's gone quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
No one's making it show up. No one's helping it go away.
Because the other way just keeps me hooked. Like it's not here, so
Yes.
I have to do something. And it just, yeah, decades later.
Yeah. And that kind of that's great to notice that's what's keeping you hooked because that really is kind of the issue is it feels like it's your problem and you need to keep working on it. Or we can
Yeah.
say that's one of the core issues, right? It feels like it's your problem. Me too. Feels like it felt like it was my problem and I need to figure this out. I need to, and that looked obvious to me for a long time. It looked responsible. I do have this issue and it is hurting me, and I do need to figure it out because who else is going to? So it's a little bit of a sneaky one because it just looks so obvious and kind of responsible and virtuous to be working on it. But to just set that aside a little bit and just see if you can kind of watch it just come and go on its own too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I love this for you, Caitlin. I feel like it's a whole new direction to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thank
reach
you.
out if you I'm happy to just email or chat a little bit. Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you, Amy. All right, Sasha.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sasha.
Amy, I loved your book. It made such a difference in my life. So it's really wonderful to hear you. Hi,
Thank
Amber.
you.
Hi,
Love you
Sasha.
so much.
You too.
So I love what you just said about thought not being unique because I just had a really profound experience of that yesterday and I just thought it was worth sharing it. Um, a lot of people on this call know this. Riel knows this. Charlena knows this. Amber knows this. But I've been on a fertility journey for 2 years and I'm pregnant now and I'm pretty far in, which is fantastic. And but I had two miscarriages prior to this. And I was talking to my cousin who just went through a miscarriage and she supported me through mine and she has one child and then it happened to her and I've been supporting her. And we both have a history of chronic illness. And she said something yesterday where she was like, my therapist has been processing how much the miscarriage and the chronic illness history and the medical trauma are so connected. And I was like, my therapist is processing that with me all the time. And she was like, oh, yeah, my story is like, it's, I'm always the one with the problem. And I was like, my story is I'm always the one. And I was like,
Do you
sometimes
guys have the same therapist?
we don't have the same therapist and we don't have the same chronic illness. But I was like, and I do, and I work with people too as a coach. And so I know what you mean. It's really like we are like these little computers where it's like stimulus, response. And it
Mhm.
feels like my story, but it's like that's just what happens when medical trauma and miscarriage happen at the same time. And there's just thought that arises. And I'm not saying like everybody would have my exact same experience, but like a lot of the time, like we tell the same stories in the same set of circumstances. And I was so touched by that idea of like, wow, this really is not a personal experience to me. And so
Yeah.
I thought that was really helpful. And then also it's so interesting as I approach labor, all of the research and everything about labor is like be in pain without suffering. Like, can you just be present with the pain of contractions without adding the suffering on top of it of like, I'm so afraid of these or these are bad or I shouldn't be in pain right now and all of that. And so I thought it was really interesting to be having this conversation with you guys because I'm already in this so much with myself right now, like how can I start to separate those things that I have just as easeful an experience of labor as possible, which is a great thing that you want to have happen, And it's like, how can I just be in the sensation without the response? I do have a question about it though, because pain, physical pain is a huge part of my history.
Mhm.
And so I actually have a lot of experience of like, I'm in pain and I know that there is like a physiological, biological fear response that happens, right? And you can work on separating those. But I think I just wanted to speak to like, how do you work with this with chronic pain? I mean, I do so much of this already, but I'd be curious about the model from your perspective because there is like my biology is going to be like, oh no, I'm in pain, fix it, right? That's my nervous system.
Yeah.
So it's like the understandings really help, but I'm just curious, like when you help people through chronic pain or something like approaching labor, like how do you tell them to kind of conceptualize this stuff?
Yeah. Well, I love how you're seeing so there's the physical response and then there's like that fear response that comes with it. So that's not a problem either, really. Especially given that you
Oh,
know
I
that.
like that. I like
Like
that.
we
Yeah.
don't have to make fear go away. Yeah,
Oh,
there's pain and
yeah.
then there's fear with it. Okay, that's just there's probably a lot of other stuff with it too if you look, but
That's helpful.
yeah, you're not doing any of that. None of it's really a problem. It's
I
all
don't have
just
to resist. I don't have to
you don't
resist
have to
that.
resist any of it. It's not
Mhm.
that fear shouldn't be there because that's what's going to lead to resistance, right? Is this belief that like, oh,
Mhm.
now there's fear, now that's making it
Right.
worse, or it shouldn't be.
Right.
Of course it
Right.
should.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's
really big.
that's a big piece of it to just see that whatever comes with
Mhm.
this habitually is just what's coming with it, and
Hmm.
that's fine, and it's all the same in a sense. Like fear isn't worse or more damaging than the pain than any of it. When you're kind of viewing it as just kind of what's arising in that way.
So I can notice that something's unpleasant without, and then just stop the conversation there in myself. Just be like, that's unpleasant in this moment.
Yeah. I mean, if when you can, there might be more conversation around it, which is fine. And you're just gonna notice that. Like there may be resistance of that. That's okay too.
And then just
It's
welcome that in too and be like, oh, now there's this.
exactly.
Oh, now
Yeah.
there's this too. And just be like,
Yeah. I
okay.
mean, that's it, really. I mean, it's funny to see the kind of conditions we put on there. Like what, like I'm okay with this, but not that. The
Yeah.
pain and maybe a little fear is fine, but this much fear is not, or resistance is not. What's resistance? I mean, look at that. That can be there. And with chronic pain, I think another piece that kind of comes into this is what's what's calling it chronic, which sounds a little weird because you as a you live in a life with a timeline and you know
Yeah.
that you've experienced something many times. But if this were your first day on earth and you're feeling that pain, there's no chronic. I mean,
Yeah.
chronic is the concept around it. It's an idea around it. And
True.
when you kind of look at that idea of what we mean when we think chronic, we think, oh, this has been happening for a long time, and it's probably going to happen a long time into the future, which
Right.
is kind of a lot of suffering, or it
That
can
is a
kind of
lot of
feel like
suffering.
suffering.
Yeah.
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 So
When we don't
I'm
know.
not suggesting you like lie to yourself or kind of trick
No,
yourself,
no.
but it's more of like just seeing, oh, there's that overlay of imagination coming in saying this is reality, physical, maybe some fear, whatever. And then there's this overlay that says, oh, Sasha, here it is again. How long is
Of
this going to go on?
course.
And that starts to like tease out a little bit.
Well, and ideally, when you just notice that, it starts to change on its own, is what you're saying, right? I don't have to
Yeah.
do anything.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
whole job is just understanding the experience.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that was my question.
Yeah. Congratulations on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. So good. Thank you for asking your question. All right, last question. Andrew, come on down.
Okay, hi, thank you. Thanks, Amber. Good
Hi.
to see you. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Andrew.
Um, so I'm curious when you're working with folks, where the concept of like pain management comes in.
Mhm.
Like for those who um like there's I my experience has been a gradation of trust that of developing trust that allows me to release from my identity, my problem solver, my manager, um, which can be quite soothing. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have that real access to that, and so do my clients. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't have access. I'm very much gripped on. And I'm finding in my own experience that it is skillful for me to just do things that are soothing, that where I'm not actually like maybe I'm meeting the pain, but I'm not sinking into the sand that much.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of getting myself into a state where I can,
Mhm.
that to the best that of my ability,
Yeah.
which, you know, has been useful for me. It's been useful for some of the people I work with to take some of the pressure off of, and I wonder how you think about that, and if
Mhm.
you're instructing people along those lines as well.
I mean, I think it's a really good question, and there's no because mostly because I think when we hear like move into it and feel it and like become it and all of that kind of stuff, it's like the mind wants to grab that and make it a really extreme thing, and that can just feel like way too much. So I think it's just really, I think what you're saying makes perfect sense, and it's probably just very much led by your sense in the moment, like your intuition and what feels possible for you. And I would just really trust that. You can have it kind of out on your radar that like you can kind of be in this bigger understanding that this is safe. Like what's showing up is okay to approach. And that doesn't mean you have to approach it in a particular way in every given moment. It's like just the knowing of that is helpful. Just the understanding of that is helpful. And then it's kind of what you're saying, I think, like whatever feels right in the moment is what feels right in the moment.
Mhm.
Does that speak to your question?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much so. And I like what you're saying because it's actually a small what I'm experiencing is it's a small shift
Yeah.
of oh yeah, only the understanding is the actually the only thing that I need to be aware of.
Yeah.
And then I can trust my system to move towards it at its own pace and in a gentle way.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like yeah, I love like how you just reframed it is great too. It's like just seeing what wants to happen. It's like if you have this bigger container of safety, which I mean, we're putting an assumption there, but you sounds like you kind of do, and we all can just look in that direction.
I'm actually speaking to, so I mean, I'll speak from my own experience, but also for my clients, but for my own experience is that container fluctuates.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to kind of the sort of titrating this approach
Yes.
to include that kind of like natural fluctuation that I think is just kind of part and parcel to this to learning this type of stuff.
Yeah, totally. And yes, and that maybe that container kind of continues to expand as we gradually feel into things. And for your clients and for you too, but like it's, when we're working with people, it's like we can help them see, look, because sometimes they need to see they need to see what's happening. Like we can point out what's happening, like, look, you were able to feel that. Your mind is telling you you can't or you shouldn't or whatever, or that you don't trust it or whatever, but like you can just lean in little by little and see how safe it is, like see that experientially. And I think that's what kind of keeps that container open a little bit more.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm excited to listen back to that.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. We're 1 minute over for you, Amy. So I just want to say thank you so much for just giving yourself so generously and for continuing to say yes to what feels alive and inspired for you. Like I've seen shifts in you and how you talk about things and how you point, since I initially became familiar with your work to now. And I just think that's really inspiring. And so thank you for being here today and just serving in this way. Really grateful.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to be part of this, and thanks everyone for being here. And yeah, so
Yeah.
good here.
And thank you for being on faculty for the School for Humaning Well.
Yeah,
I'm just going to share
absolutely.
one thing about that, and then I'm going to stay if anyone wants and has more questions or wants to explore anything relative to your awakening or something that you're struggling with or something that you didn't ask that was present on your heart. And so I just would like this conversation that we're having today, this idea of humaning well, like this is it. It's like whether you're stirred up, whether you're completely at peace, this is all humaning well. This is all in the richness of this experience. And so I'm having conversations with people right now. The school launches in January. And if there's a spark of aliveness, if you want to deepen in this, if you're curious for more, please reach out. You can respond to one of the emails that you will receive. Like I'll be sending out the replay of this. And then I just also want to say, because look, awakening in and of itself is it's like it's its own journey. And because all of you are already on that path, you wouldn't have signed up for this if you weren't on that path. Because you're already on that path, if the school speaks to you, I've decided just as a gift, anyone who registers before October 31st will get 2 preschool community gatherings that will support you in November and December. So one call in November and one call in December where we can come together in community and share this human experience and learn and grow together. And then I'm also including a one-on-one private session with me. So anyone who enrolls before October 31st will get all of those things. And that's just, I just think anything that can help support you in your deepening, that's what I'm here for. Um, Thank you for hanging out, Amy. You can take off whenever you like. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
everyone,
much.
for being here. I appreciate your presence, your participation, your questions. So good, so rich. Is there anything you want to say to close?
No, just thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I love this topic, and I hope it's resonated with people. And if you have any questions for me, always feel free to reach out. I love to hear from people. I'm happy to chat.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Amy.
Bye.
And so, yeah, so if anyone has their own like questions or reflections or curiosities, I'm happy to hang. And otherwise, we can wrap. Bye, Andrew. Riel.
I'll give it a crack.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You too. Okay, so as I've been practicing this over the past few months, I've noticed, I think a lot of people have spoken to like the natural nervous system responses of like Andrew sort of spoke to the container, it expands and it shrinks. And I think Sasha sort of said, like, my natural response is like, oh, I can't handle it. When I start to try to, maybe that's maybe that's part of it as I'm trying to allow the experience to just take place. And I would say what I've noticed is I don't know how to totally put this into words, so I'm just going to attempt it. But what I've noticed is that as I sort of allow the experience to come in and I try to accept it, like it's almost like my nervous system's response, or there's some sort of response there that's like, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get the outcome you're looking for. So it's almost like I've created new ways to punish myself. Like I now have like 20 additional ways to like get myself into action by punishing myself.
Mm.
And I just have found the process really interesting because where before, uh, I mean, I guess it's just an interesting evolution. Because before, I think not being aware of everything, all of the sensation and all the thought and my self-judgment and everything, not being aware of it was actually so much easier in so many ways because I wasn't like now I'm like layering so much judgment on top of there's just now more layers. And so I'm curious about like how do I start to part and parcel that?
Well, like that, I hear you. And I think that's also a really common experience. You're like the ego can co-opt anything. The
Yeah.
ego can just take and layer itself into anything. And so then it's like this is now I'm thinking about how Amy responded to Sasha, which was like, that's not a problem. That applies here too. Right? Oh, these all these ways that because this is how the left brain hooks us in staying alive is like this. I got to figure out how not to punish myself in all these new ways that I didn't even wasn't even aware of before. Okay, I got to stop this. It's like no, that just gets to be here too. Oh, what's that like? Oh, what's going on inside of me as I entertain that thought?
Okay. I mean, as she was speaking to Sasha, and Sasha was sort of like, and we just welcome this one and welcome that one and welcome this one. I'm like, at what point? And again, this is like just ego probably holding on, but it's like, at what point does the container break or like overfill? Does it? Or do we just learn that it doesn't ever get overfilled?
I mean, I can only share my experience,
Sure.
right? And so, uh, and it's like you get to play with that. But here, like what I would offer, Riel, is you weren't a mom, and then you had your son, and you became a mom.
Yeah.
What it's like, I would imagine your capacity for so much
Mm.
just
Yeah.
naturally grew in that moment to meet right this being that's now
Mhm.
in your life.
I don't know if it's natural. I think I don't I think there's a lot of unnatural, but I do understand where you're going. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like you can think of like, and I'm not, this isn't the best way to say it, but it's almost like all of our patterns are kind of like these little children. And it's like the
Mm, yeah.
capacity expands to welcome them too.
Okay.
Because it's like my experience is that love is all there is. I'm
Right.
not saying I'm I'm in that state every second of the day because I'm definitely not. I'm still in my human experience, but
Yeah.
if love is all there is and everything is made of love, then why couldn't love hold this and this and this and this and this? Because it's all it. That's
Yeah.
also love.
Okay. More practice.
Well, and
Yeah.
playing, right? Like the other thing I would offer is, I've seen it in myself, and I'm not saying this is you, but like there is this patterning for me of like improvement, of like getting beyond. I want that, not this, right? I want to be there, not here, right? It's like, how do I
Right.
get there? I want that result. If I do these things, it'll get me there. And
Yeah.
that is so sneaky. Like, okay, I'll feel my feelings to get through to the other side to feel the bliss. Right. And I think in the beginning, that's kind of helpful, right? It's sort of like the honeymoon phase, and right. And then it's like, like whaps you on the face of, no, that's actually not the point. The point
Right.
is to just allow this, whatever
Mhm.
it is in this moment. Because that's this, whatever it is, how pleasant or unpleasant it is, which is just a label that the mind puts on it,
Yeah.
right? If we remove that label, it's just experience, right? Like the sensation. I had nerves this morning for this webinar, and I was like my initial response was put them away. Like, don't, like you're not gonna do as well if you have this running. I was like, wait a minute, this can be here. And then it's like, as I was with the sensations, there's not, and you know that, right? There's not that big of a difference between nervousness and excitement, except for what the
Yeah.
mind says, this is this is that,
Right.
right? And so just allowing whatever and not going for some result.
Yeah. Okay. That's
That's
helpful.
so disappointing to the ego. So disappointing to the
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah. I'm very results oriented. So yeah, it's hard to not. Hence the punishment, right? There's like no result coming from just sitting with the feeling. So then it's like, get going. Here's a way for you to get going.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's like the mind thinks that it knows there's no result coming from sitting with the feeling, but that's a way that it keeps you from sitting with the feeling. But it's
mm,
like, if that goes away and you're really with the feeling, who knows what could happen?
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Amber.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else going once? Ah, Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia and then Linda.
Oh, I just wanted to say that you wrote something, Amber, that is such a good example of what you've just been sharing with Riel, because what I noticed in your explaining your process is how you just slowed everything down. And what I'm starting to understand about working with myself is just having that loving voice come in to say to the part that's freaking out or is in overwhelm, oh, it's okay, sweetie. We can our container can embrace all of what you're experiencing, and I'm loving us through it.
Hmm.
That's what I heard in your sharing, and I just wanted to underscore it because I think
Beautiful.
it's really so helpful
Thank you.
how to use that loving to unblend from the trying to do something with the thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Love
All
you.
right. Yeah, you too. Linda and then Jillian.
Hi, Amber, thanks.
Hi. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how relevant this is, but my head's been it's been occupying me for a bit about listening to you and Amy. This idea of how attached we are to our stories, how attached I am to past stories. And I think it's much easier to observe it in others, for me anyway. Listening to someone who I met about a year ago, and I hear her when she introduces herself, she tells this story again and again about her ex-husband, I don't know, 20 years ago, whenever it was, leaving her for this woman and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, God, this is really interesting how this is this is a story that she's really attached to. And I have mine, my identity is very much attached with me being a Londoner and, oh God, I've left London and, all that nonsense. but it's yeah, and I just noticed you could this generative thing that happens, with stories, that you literally recreate that feeling from, or that experience from way back, and we just, yeah, it's like a sort of self-punishment.
Yes, that's
It's
it. Completely. Well, and it's like, and the main story is the story of me, right?
right.
And it's like all these other stories get built upon that, and then we recycle them, and that continues to produce certain feelings and certain actions. Yep. And that's
Yeah,
how that starts to feel so safe, even though it may be painful. But it's like that's what feels known. So that's what feels safe. And then we sort of imprison ourselves in that.
yeah. I heard my father doing it over and over again, years and years, and he could just generate something like it happened. And the anger and everything was there as if it happened yesterday. The divorce that happened 30 years before, like it happened yesterday. And you're like watching this person going, okay,
Yeah.
because it's so much easier to observe it externally, I find anyway. So
Oh, completely. Like we have blind spots from the inside
it's so
out.
rare.
Like,
It's so
yeah,
obvious out there, isn't it? Yeah.
exactly. Always easier to see out there. Yeah.
Thank,
Thank you for sharing that because it's very true. Very true.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Jillian. Oh, I can't add you to Spotlight. Jillian, are you there? I saw a hand lower. You're muted if you're talking.
Oh my goodness,
There you
Amber.
are.
I never do Zoom on my phone. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
You're like, where are the buttons? What do I
Oh,
need to do
and
here?
I was like, but I really want to ask this. So I went for a beautiful walk as I was listening, and it was so powerful. And I can drop into like swimming in senses when it's sensation and even like sight I was playing with and sound. But then I'm coming home and I'm making my lunch, and someone told me, a health coach, to track my macros because I have PCOS, but also what is PCOS? And is that just a thought? And then and then this is like really where my OCD kicks in. And it's like, and I know you have some experience of someone telling you to track your macros. So I'm like, I would be lying to myself if I'm like, I'm really leaning into this when, like, in this moment of making lunch, it's like, it's here. The like needing to track things. How do you move through that?
Well, what's the experience? Like, what's happening inside of you right now?
I think what's happening inside of me in this moment is just like desperation for relief from the control,
Hmm.
and just like yeah, it's like desperation for relief of control paired with um like a little bit of like maybe like doubtful thoughts of like, well, everything else in my life I can work with this model, but not this thing. Like this thing's too sticky. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does. And my experience with this understanding, um, right? If this is about like the intelligence of life,
Hmm.
right? That like if we think about our bodies, they heal without us needing to do like if we get a cut, it just heals whether I do something or not. It
Hmm.
digests my food no matter what I've eaten, right? Like there is an intelligence in the system.
Yeah.
And so it's not surprising that this is where the intelligence like this is your place of great
Yeah.
healing that's on
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
And it's like the tenderness of the experience of it. It's like you want to honor that. What I mean by that, it's like we're not looking to, right? This is where, in a way, it's like Riel share can be tied in because it's easy to be like, well, let me just focus on this and heal this and get through this so
Hmm.
that I can feel. But then we're just running the same type of a control pattern
Yeah.
towards this problem,
Right.
right? And so what I love, like the first step is what exactly what you've just done, which is recognition,
Hmm.
right? You raised your
Yeah.
hand, you said you asked for support,
Hmm.
and it on the surface it can appear as like, should I track my macros? Should I not track my macros? I'm so tired of tracking my macros. Do I have to keep tracking my
Yeah.
macros? It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about this deeper piece, about like the
Hmm.
control, the rigidity, right? It's like I've got to contain myself in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that. And it's also like when you're given advice from a professional, like the latching on to like, well, I have to do this to cure this thing.
Well, see, and it's like to cure this, it's like there's a
Right.
problem. This
Right.
shouldn't be here, right? And
Yeah.
then part of that, and this is my experience, I'm not saying this is yours, but part of that for me has been it's like I know my identity has been such, right, as an achiever, as
Yeah.
successful, as good, as A+ student with the gold stars in all these areas. It's not like this here.
Hmm.
Right. So then it's
Yeah.
like threat to the identity, right? It's like this is
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
big and layered and that the encourage like you it would be great, Jillian, to just start to look at, right, someone who's a professional who does this for a living recommended this.
Hmm.
But it's like you hear it as the law.
Yeah. A
I
little
must
bit.
do this,
Yeah.
right? And and it's like you can look at that and then but
Hmm.
really the deeper pieces so that it will cure this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I
I
would
think
say
that's
that's
it.
really the place of like, well, what is the problem here?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's I mean, we could look at it a little, we're, I know we're a little bit over time,
Sorry.
but no, that's okay. What does PCOS prevent you from having?
Not a fan. Like, yeah. That's what I'm most nervous about, right?
And so it's like
Yeah.
that's where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fear of, am I going to be able to have kids? I really want to have
Hmm.
kids.
Hmm.
Right? It's like just in
Yeah.
like, do you see how it surfaces as like macros, and then we get to the next layer, and then we
Hmm.
get to the next layer, and then we get to the next, and it's like, oh, but that's
Yeah.
because we paused and started to look and deepen and deepen and deepen, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, the fear of not being a mom or not being able to have your own
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. 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 I think it's that and also just like being trapped in the like OCD in at least one area of my life. And that the root of that really feels like I'm just I the fear of not feeling safe. Like I think if I was to say it really, it's like the biggest fear is like, am I safe?
Yeah.
Which I know is so universal, but feels
But that's, I mean,
so
but that's the
real.
beauty of it because
Yeah,
we never will feel safe in the imagination. And the
right,
imagination is
right,
going to try to get us to create situations and circumstances and behaviors to feel safe, but
right,
that's not it. And
right.
I just offer this is where I'm at right now, and who knows, this could change tomorrow, this could change in a year. But this idea of like a coping strat, like the OCD is a coping strategy.
Yeah,
You don't want to prematurely throw that out,
right.
right? It's like
Yeah,
that's you caring for yourself to the best of your ability. And so
yeah,
we don't want to be like, that's bad, that's wrong. It's like, no, this can be here too. And then I can also
yeah,
be curious about right? Like, what does this bring me? And what is
Yeah.
this OCD? And what am I afraid will happen if I let that go? And right, like moving
Yeah.
in some of that direction.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
But you don't have to cut anything out. Like this is everything is either a coping strategy or like love, right? It's sort
Right.
of like that. It's
Yeah.
like everything is a block to
Yeah.
love or love. Everything is a
I
coping
love that.
strategy or love. And none
Right.
of it's bad. It's
Yeah.
all part of being human and it's part of your
Yeah.
system taking care of you.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
just gently start to notice it, start to observe it, start to, right,
Yeah.
curious about it. And then it just starts to peel itself
Dissolve.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's nothing
Okay.
wrong in any of this.
Yeah. Thank you for, yeah, it's just like this is real and happening right now. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Thank
sending you
you.
so much love. And it's
Ditto.
okay to
It's so
just
good to
meet
be
it
with
as
you.
it is. It's just
Yeah.
energy. It's
Yeah.
just energy moving.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
See
you.
you.
Yes, see you for sure.
Bye.
Thank you everyone for staying. I know we went over, just really appreciate you. Yeah, I'm sending you a lot of love. I love that you're on this path. It's a beautiful, beautiful path to be on. And I heard someone, it was on a podcast once, say that it was a talk about awakening, and the person started the talk by being like, if you don't know what that is, just go ahead and leave the room. But if you are on the path, finish it. Like keep moving forward to finish it. Like take it to completion. So I offer that to you all. All right, have a wonderful rest of the day. I'll be getting the replay out tomorrow. All right, take good care. Bye.